Are you a police officer in New Mexico? Do you wonder why criminal defendants are afforded so many more rights in New Mexico than other states? I'm going to tell you why, coming up. Hi there, I'm Erik Scramlin with Tactical Legal Solutions, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the New Mexico Constitution and why it's interpreted differently than the federal Constitution. In particular, I'm going to be talking to you about Article 2, Section 10, which is New Mexico's version of the Fourth Amendment. Before we get started, please consider hitting that subscribe button. I've just launched my new law enforcement courses specifically for New Mexico officers, and I'm going to be putting out a whole bunch of videos here on this channel, so please subscribe so you can stay up to date on all the content when all my videos are released. One of the first things that you have to realize as a New Mexico police officer is that not only are you dealing with the Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution, but you're also dealing with the New Mexico Constitution, in particular, Article 2, Section 10. As a New Mexico prosecutor, I can't tell you how many times I had officers come to me and say, hey, I came from Arizona, I came from Texas, I was a police officer there, and we didn't need a search warrant to search a car. Why do we need it here? In order to answer that question, you have to first understand the differences between the federal Constitution and the state Constitution. In a lot of states, the state Constitution mirrors the federal Constitution, and New Mexico, for the most part, does too. But we also need to look at that state and how the courts are interpreting the Constitution. So a lot of states, the courts follow the United States Supreme Court's rationale. For example, in Carroll versus United States, the Supreme Court of the United States established the Carroll Doctrine, which established an exception to the warrant requirement for warrantless searches of vehicles. Most state courts follow the Carroll Doctrine and its progeny in the later cases that came later in analyzing their own state constitutions. But here is where New Mexico takes a little bit more of a liberal approach. The New Mexico Supreme Court has adopted what is known as the interstitial approach. The court formally adopted this approach in State versus Gomez, 122 New Mexico 777. Now, simply put, this just means that the protections under the New Mexico Constitution are far more expansive than the federal Constitution. So the way our courts interpret the New Mexico Constitution under Article 2, Section 10 is to first analyze the basic protections given under the Fourth Amendment to the United States Constitution, and then to apply more expansive rights under Article 2, Section 10. Now, in practice, this means that New Mexico courts have a very strong preference for warrants. Even when you're using established exceptions to the warrant requirement, the court's going to look to the reasonableness of that warrantless search. So, for example, you're doing an inventory. You find drugs. The court's going to scrutinize whether you kept searching or did you stop, seal the car up, and apply for a warrant. Now, this interstitial approach has led to several areas under New Mexico law where Fourth Amendment search and seizure principles simply do not apply. Some of those areas include searches of automobiles, pretextual stops, scope and expansion of the traffic stops, and the general preference for a warrant in New Mexico. Okay, what does this mean for you as a New Mexico police officer? Well, first of all, it means that you really have to make it your job to take the time to learn search and seizure law. Second of all, in learning search and seizure law, you have to focus on New Mexico-specific cases. You can't just look at United States Supreme Court decisions because that's not always going to work in New Mexico. So follow the case law updates from the Court of Appeals and the Supreme Court. Communicate with your local DAs, your city attorney, county attorney, whatever. Your focus has got to be on New Mexico-specific case law. Finally, choose your training carefully. I can't tell you how many times I've had guys, when I was a DA, go to this wonderful out-of-state training, and they would learn drug interdiction and all these methods to expand the scope of a traffic stop, and then they would come back to me and say, look what I learned. I say, you can't do that here. So make sure if you're going to attend one of these out-of-state trainings that when you come back, that you take the time to make sure that that Fourth Amendment law is consistent with New Mexico's interstitial approach. So again, make sure that you're taking a look at New Mexico-specific cases. Okay, let's review. New Mexico applies the interstitial approach in analyzing the New Mexico Constitution. This means that protections under the New Mexico Constitution are considered far more expansive than the Fourth Amendment. When our courts analyze constitutional issues, they will start by analyzing under the Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution, Next, under the interstitial approach, they will then analyze it under Article 2, Section 10 of the state constitution. So even though a warrantless automobile search may be constitutional under the Fourth Amendment, New Mexico courts expand the rights under Article 2, Section 10 and say that that exception does not apply in New Mexico. So this means that you have to look specifically at New Mexico cases for guidance. You can't just rely on Fourth Amendment cases. I hope this video was helpful. I hope you have a better understanding of why New Mexico affords greater rights than other states. And I hope this helps to point you in the right direction when it comes to obtaining good search and seizure training. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button. If you found this valuable, I offer a full New Mexico search and seizure course where I cover the warrant requirement and all of the recognized exceptions in New Mexico. So check out my website at tacticalattorney.com for more information. Give me a call, send me a text, shoot me an email. I'd love to hear from you. I'll see you next time.